Welcome to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
And I, by process of elimination, am Phil Proctor. We have a wonderful guest here today, but we're going to keep him a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
Because that's in keeping with his persona, his pursuit in life, and his, well, you'll find out.
So we haven't been on the air since Election Day. We were on the air Election Day, but before we knew what the returns were. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm fine because, I was so depressed at the loss of my darling wife, Melinda, that I was in a depression for about 3 months. Didn't have any appetite, hard to get out of bed. And so when I just got over it, and I was eating again and feeling great. And then Rump got elected. And I went, well, I'm not going to go back to my depression. So I'm fine.
Wow, that's good. I'll have what he's having.
Right.
Yeah, this election really literally made me sick.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, let's invite our guest.
All hail the Mad King.
No, that's not our guest.
We decisively chose hate over hope.
But you know something? This was not a landslide.
No.
It's kind of like 50-50. This country is absolutely, totally divided.
Remember, the whiner was talking about pre-election, how they were already cheating in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. And isn't it curious that he hasn't said anything about election fraud?
Elon Musk, which spells lone schmuck if you move the letters around, has already suggested support, I'm reading it here, for replacing democracy with a government of high-status males. The theory suggests that the only people able to think freely are high testosterone alpha males, neurotypical people.
I thought it was going to be a generational shift. I mean, it's going to be an uglier generational shift. It's going to be tough for 2 years, but you cannot give up because these people are pushing a deeply unpopular agenda supported by soulless wealth class, and it's not going to work. Yeah. It's going to get ugly, but we have to absolutely resist.
Well, let's see if anybody comes to their senses.
Well, we'll see.
Once they're getting hit in the pocketbook, I'll tell you this though, I ain't going to have no black mixed race woman telling me what to do. Why do you think they call it the White House, boy?
I didn't vote for the man. Yes, you did. You voted for the man.
All right, well, enough of this. Let's.
But you know those rich folks?
What?
Try getting your third home built now.
Okay. This is the hardest introduction I think we've ever had to
Well,
make.
I think we have a solution to this, though, don't we?
We do.
Yes.
And it is embodied by our wonderful guest, John Carney, who has been patiently waiting over here, listening to our diatribe. And John is a renowned magician. I've known John for many, many years and enjoyed many manifestations of your magical act. Boy, you just have you such an enormous variety of approaches to magic. But he is going to solve our problem today because, from what I understand, you're going to make Trump disappear.
That's right. I'm working on a formula, a whole spell. Do you have any Eye of Newt?
You have the plan of
the
concept?
Yeah, that's
Eye of Newt Gingrich?
Yes, I think that might work.
Listen, Copperfield took out the Statue of Liberty, and Trump's not much bigger than that. But
just his ego.
Yeah, but the problem, if we make him disappear,
right,
you're going to have to put Vance in there, Stephen Miller, Bannon. I mean, you got a lot of people to make disappear. But,
you're going to need a big box.
Yeah. But we thought it was appropriate to have you on because in this age of magical thinking.
And con men.
The greatest con America has ever seen has now.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's truly astounding that people were that bamboozled.
Well, I've studied con men in the past, and what makes them successful is that they inspire confidence in people, and they're usually charming and the convincing, and they're confident themselves and everything.
Confident.
I never saw any of this in the election at all. I mean, where a guy inspired my confidence. I go, it's so transparent. How in the world could you possibly look past all that? and he didn't really even promise anything. That's what's crazy.
He doesn't even have he's not cogent enough to even promote policy.
Well, he did promise a bunch of stuff at the end of his no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security.
He's thrown out candy.
Yeah.
He's just throwing out candy.
Tax cut for the middle class.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Cutting off heads for the upper class.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. It would be interesting to see if he keeps his promise.
The only thing he's going to get out of jail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's got to get out of jail free
and and for people who are, I don't subscribe to these kind of conspiracy theories about the slow-moving coup kind of thing, but you have to scratch your head once in a while and say, well, wait a minute. So the Trump, the McConnell court, people call it the Trump court, but the McConnell court preemptively gave him immunity from criminal prosecution as president.
It's all mapped out.
It's all ready to go.
Yep.
And when Thomas and Alito finally keel over, they're just going to put in 2 30-something Roberts types and just seal the deal.
But the stuff, like the talk today on the radio is all about how they've postponed the decision about the hush money trial with Stormy Daniels.
Oh, it's gone.
Wait a minute. But remember, the immunity is supposed to come when the president is in office.
Right.
But didn't that whole event happen when he was running for office? Mm-hmm. So what? Well, look, the far right has been brainwashing the nation for 40 years by the takeover of radio, the radio waves. Just what Hitler did. Hey, have you ever used hypnosis in your panoply of magical skills?
No, but I did hypnotize inanimate objects. I had a character named Dr. Lawyer.
Dr. Lawyer?
And he would hypnotize inanimate objects, a stool into believing it was a table, and he hypnotized a glass of water, and it would remain suspended, and that sort of thing.
He thought it was beer.
To give you a proper introduction, John Carney is really one of the finest sleight-of-hand performers in the world.
Oh, not just sleight of hand. He does remarkable kind of twists on standard expectational magic acts.
I like to build on classics. I take old ideas and I go, well, how could I
reinvent them?
How could I tailor it to myself and make it a little more interesting than a puzzle? Make it fun.
You create certain kind of characters, bumbling characters,
presentations,
or egotistical characters.
Yeah.
So,
and you're the most awarded magician at the Magic Castle, which is interesting because as a youth from Des Moines, you snuck into the Magic Castle to sniff it out, right?
I hope there's there's the statute of limitations.
Yeah, you're an out-of-town kid. You come in, you sneak into the castle, and then you go on to become the most awarded magician there.
Well, they allowed underage kids to come in on a Sunday, and I came in on a Sunday. And I was visiting from out of town. I was 19, and I went, and I go, wow, I wonder if I could. In the old days, there was a door that you could just walk through. Now you have to wait for the bookcase to open and everything. Yeah. But then you could just walk right through.
It's more of a commercial enterprise now, but it was a great club.
Tell us about the Magic Castle.
Hanging out.
I mean, what did you know it as when you were a kid coming in?
Well, it was an aspiration as a teenager. I would read Genie magazine, which was the magazine.
Yeah, we have a copy here with your mug.
Hot dog with my mug on it.
And a huge article about you.
Oh, by the way, you're going to be doing tricks today, aren't you?
Oh, tricks on the radio.
I see you brought a little bag
of
something over here. Yeah.
Oh.
Bah, bah. Oh. Yeah, well, look out, that code is getting your hat there. Hey, it's gone.
Get away.
You had to be here, folks.
It went away as soon as it appeared.
I saw it.
Yeah.
And
you believed it.
And it's gone.
That's the hypnosis.
But look, it ate my hat.
Is there a rabbit in it?
That's not.
So I came in during the day, and I thought, wow, I wonder if I could get in tonight. And I just kind of boldly walked past the ladies at the desk who saw me earlier in the day. They knew I was a magician from out of town. Hi, ladies, how you doing? Nice to see you. And I just kept going. I go, I'm in. I can't believe it. But I stayed away from the bar because I was afraid they'd get in trouble.
Yep.
I just stayed away from the bar. I just watched a lot of magic shows, talked to some of my heroes. One of them was Di Vernon. I'd read his books and legendary sleight of hand. My main mentor, really, for sleight of hand.
How he could do magic with those tiny little hands.
What was the name? I missed it.
Di Vernon. Di is short for David. Di Vernon. We used to call him the professor. And he moved out from New York, or he came out for a visit, and he ended up staying for 35 years or whatever it was. And
kind of like yourself.
Was sort of he was revered there, and people would have court with him. They would sit down across from at the couch and just talk magic. And it was very informal lessons. It wasn't like any sort of payment or anything like that. Just two guys that loved magic from different generations, and he would show me things, and I would show him something. He'd go, "Well, that's interesting, but that's no good. Try it this way," or he'd give me a problem to solve, and I would go home and come back the next day. "I think I got it," and he goes, "No, you didn't. Go back." And it would, after a month or so, you keep trying different things. You go, "Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay," and then you move on to something else, and.
That's how the skills get built. Right?
Yeah, but that's what keeps it interesting too. Is I like a lot of different things. Some people just do mind reading tricks, just do card tricks, just do coin tricks, just do box tricks, and I'm interested in all of it. If it's
a box trick?
Well, I mean, I'm talking
props,
pejorative term for it, but props or like an illusion, a big
cutting a woman
big
in
illusion,
half, in a box,
things like that. So, but there's all those different kinds. But I have an interest in all those things, and I can apply, the knowledge of this thing to something completely different. I just go, "Oh, that's an interesting principle or an idea," and you give it a little twist, and you can use it over here in a handkerchief trick or something, and the psychology behind it. And it's just, anything new that you learn. That's what I admire so much about Di Vernon and the people that I really learned magic from, is they were perpetual students. They stayed interested, and they kept learning new things. And I know some guys that, they learned a few tricks when they were younger, and they're doing the same things, and they don't even do them any better. They just do them the same way they learned them, and they think, it's good enough, But I hate that.
That's the secret to a healthy life anyway, is to constantly learn.
Yeah,
right?
Well, to keep it interesting too.
You're still at it. You just completed a tour of Europe.
Well, it wasn't. It was actually two conventions of magicians. One in Spain and one in Germany, and there were the National Congress of Spain and National Congress of Germany.
Was it in Madrid and Berlin or where?
No, it was Vitoria, Spain. Vitoria, Spain, just outside of Bilbao.
Okay.
And so area. It's nice. It's most of these conventions, I would say 98% of them are amateur magicians, but they love it. And some of the best magicians I've known over the years have been amateurs. They do it, for the love, amateur. Do it for the love of. And but they spend every spare moment thinking about it and getting together and chatting with other people and exchanging ideas, and they're students, And other guys are professionals, and they make a great living, but they don't really work on things. They've got their thing, and that's the craft. They make a vase, and they make 1,000 vases like that. They churn them out, but that seems kind of boring to me. I remember distinctly a very, very telling moment for me. I met one of my heroes when I was younger. His name was Don Allen. He was a Chicago magician. He did a lot of trade shows and corporate work and things like that. And he was a little older. He got a little more bitter and, maybe drinking a little too much and everything. And, he came to this local little convention there, and I went up to him real naive. I'm like 15 years old or something, and "Oh, geez, Mr. Allen, must be fantastic. Do magic for a living." And he goes, Yeah, great. You fly across the country, away from your family and your home, and you check into the hotel, and he did a lot of trade shows, and you check into the hotel, and you go to the thing, and you're on your feet for 8 hours, and then you got to get the client later. You don't get hired the next year, and you get drunk, and you go home, and you go back to the hotel, and you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and your bloodshot eyes, and you say, "I'm going to do this trick 80 times today." And I go, "Oh, my God, I never want to do magic for a living." I decided at that point I never want to do it for a living. But then I started doing other things. I sold clothes. I worked in an office. I sold shoes, all different kinds of jobs. And I was struggling at them, and I decided, I said, well, if I'm going to struggle, I'm going to struggle at something I like. And I'm still struggling today.
Yay.
I'm successfully struggling today.
So
but doing what I love.
Doing what you love.
But it is one of the hardest professions, isn't it?
Anything in show business is hard. And for, I consider myself a pretty sensitive person. And you need a thick skin to be in show business and to face an audience, and and there's a certain amount of failure, things that don't work, and you judge yourself. Oh, I stink, and
Let's get into that, John.
It's a psychological.
Yeah. Well, I do want to talk about the psychology behind magic and how it goes back to Mesopotamia, but out of random here, tell us like the worst room you've ever worked.
Well, I remember. All these stories. I think I'm famous for having the weirdest, worst gigs in the business. I'm legendary in the magic world for bad gigs, and they all start with, "Well, I needed some money for the rent," and they all start the same, like that.
Oh yeah, okay.
And some guy called me up and he says, "Hey, we got a little thing at the Sheraton there, and it's a big party, and we'd like to do little magic at the cocktail party, and then maybe get up on stage and do, your comedy magic." And I go, "Oh, yeah, great. Oh, boy, here's some money." So I went, and I arrived, and it was a convention of people that had laryngectomies, that had their voice box removed.
Oh, no.
So
did you do box magic?
So half the people had their larynx removed, and the other half were their spouses and whatever. And so I'm walking around doing card tricks at the cocktail party, and I hear the same cliches all the time, but here I'm hearing it. They take that little device and hold it up to their neck, and he goes, "I wouldn't want to play cards with you. I'd take you to Vegas, make my wife disappear, all that sort of stuff." And I'm going, "Oh, this is so strange, And then I get up on stage afterwards to do after the dinner. I get up and do a stage thing, and I'm doing comedy, so I'm used to hearing ha 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 laughter.
Oh no!
But they don't take the trouble to pick up the device off the table and go ha ha. So instead, it sounds like you got like a couple hundred people, 300 people with the dry heaves. It's like. which there's no greater reception a comedy could receive than the people gagging.
Nice. Your story about being on the road, and the story you told about Allen, was that his name?
Don Allen, yeah.
Don Allen.
He's a very good magician. Yeah, he took simple close-up magic tricks and made an act out of it. Nobody had really done an act of small magic, and he sat at a table, and he did a lot of corporate gigs and hospitality rooms at conventions and things like that. Oh,
yeah, it's nothing more wonderful, really, than close-up magic.
Yeah.
But Ileana Douglas is a friend of mine, and
you got to introduce me. I got a crush on her.
Oh, yeah, I know, she's a sweetie. Anyway, she was on the Gilbert Gottfried show, God rest his crazy spirit, and her uncle was Melvin Douglas. Wonderful, renowned actor.
Wow,
and she was just thinking of getting into show business, a young woman, and she asked him for some advice, and here's what he told her: always order the club sandwich. Okay,
that's consistent.
See, and that put into a little microcosm the life of an actor on the road in a play or something, right? And because he said it'll always be the same ingredients. Okay.
Have you ever heard the Buddy Hackett story? Two comics go backstage in Vegas. There's Buddy Hackett, so they say, "Hey, want to meet Buddy Hackett?" And somehow they got backstage, and the comics are asking. They say, "Oh, Mr. Hackett, we really enjoyed your show. So have you got any advice for aspiring young comedians?" And he goes, "Yeah, kid, always take your wallet with you on stage." Yeah. and they both laughed, and he goes, I ain't kidding. So I always do.
Yeah, Bergman always did that too. And the night of the Golden Dragon Massacre, our friend Bill Alexander was going to take us out to the Trident for after show supper
In San Francisco.
in San Francisco. And Peter had left his wallet in his jeans, his costume jeans, and they were already packed to get ready to go to the next day to fly to Aspen, Colorado for another gig. So he had to go down, and he had to go and get his wallet, and that delayed us just enough to be able to get to the Trident when it closed. So we had to go into Chinatown where things were open late. We got a parking place in front of the Golden Dragon restaurant, most famous restaurant in San Francisco back in the 70s. And we went in. The waiter says, "You better order fast. We're going to close soon." Should have taken that advice. And so we ordered, and I'm bending over my second bowl of hot and sour soup. Bang, 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 crash, crash, scream, scream. Stuff flying over my head.
Oh.
3 Joe Fong gang members came in with a shotgun, a machine gun, and a pistol. Okay? And they were going after the Huaqing, the young Chinese who were trying to take over the gang, the protection racket in Chinatown. And they'd already killed one of the Joe Fong boys, one of the Joe boys. So it was a retaliatory strike. And, of course, they didn't get any of them. Instead, they killed 5 people and wounded 11.
Random strangers.
Right? And right in front of us. And that was all because Bergman had left his wallet in his pants. So I don't know, buddy. I'm not so sure about that. And, of course, the really strange thing many strange things about that were, number one, I just learned that morning that my wife, Barbro, my Norwegian wife, was pregnant with my now 47-year-old daughter, Kristen. And the whole shooting had been predicted to me by a friend named Sharon about a month before. And she said, "You and Peter are going to finish a performance, and you're going to be in a restaurant, and you're going to be caught in a gang war between foreigners. People will be killed and wounded around you, and you and Peter will escape unscathed."
That's very specific. It was that specific when she said it?
Yes.
Was it written down, or
Nope.
was it in
No, it was just
retrospect?
like, "Philip, I hate to tell bad news to people, but I think I have to tell you this."
Okay,
Wow.
so now you're a magician. I can
How
hear
did
the,
she do
I can
that?
hear the skepticism there.
How did she do that?
Well, I couldn't tell you. That sounds very specific, and I can't. Most of these things you can't, in retrospect, you can't go back because you don't know all the details. And Uri Geller used to do spoon.
She was working with Uri Geller.
Oh, well, okay,
Sure.
all right. Well, now it's a little bit more suspicious.
Right, and Dr. Andrea
Right.
Poharich.
All right,
Right.
well, go ahead, keep going
all right.
on this.
Go ahead.
Well, Uri Geller would, they'd say, oh, he'd have images appear in photographs and
can stop clocks.
Polaroids and stop clocks,
Right.
and he
was
would
born
say
with a bent spoon in his mouth. That was what he
Right,
used to say.
right. So he would do things on the radio where he'd go, "Oh, you go to your drawer and get out the
Yep.
watch that hasn't worked for
Yes,
years,
right.
and hold your hand over, and I'm concentrating now. And if it's started, please call in." And some people would call in, and they'd say, "It's
Yep,
amazing.
it started.
The watch, But all the hundreds
Random.
and thousands of people that didn't go to their thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and a few took it out, and none of them worked, and maybe like 4 you jostle it after you haven't touched it for a while, and
That's
it
right.
kind of runs for a few minutes, and
that's
you go, "Oh, he fixed it."
Yeah, springs will do that.
He takes credit for it.
All right. Well, here's how that happened. Peter and I were performing in Chicago before we went to San Francisco, the Great American Music Hall, and Uri Geller was just making his splash. Okay, and I read an article about him, and I got excited. I said to Peter, "I got to meet this guy. We got to meet this guy." And Peter goes, "Yeah, okay." And so the next day we go to New York. We're playing the bottom line or the bitter end or the bitter line or the bottom end, whatever it was. and there was a message for me from somebody named Sharon. I didn't know anybody named Sharon at the time. And it said, "Uri Geller wants to meet you." Okay? That's what the message was. And there was this area code like Woodstock or something. So after the show, I made some jokes about Geller. And then after the show, I call up. Turns out her name used to be Sharon. And she was married and changed her name to Sharon. And she was working with Uri Geller and Dr. Andrei Baharch in Ossining, New York, doing research. And they would be going out to the Negev desert and talking to aliens. And I was introduced to this extraordinary world. And it was that very night that she predicted the shooting I was in. So this is magic to me. But this is
well,
like
there's no direct explanation. For I can't give you.
Yeah, good.
But a lot of times it's people saying ambiguous things that you take as being very specific and the after.
It's interesting that magicians, by and large, are logical and at times cynical about the way the mind wants to, wishful thinking, magical thinking. To suspend logic for desire. And I'm not saying that's what you did, Phil. I'm just saying is that because I've had weird things like that happen to me.
Yeah,
there are
I know you have.
There are synchronicities. What is your take on Uri Geller?
He's absolutely a magician. There's no question in my mind. He's a magician. But he's got a new presentation and everything. But I don't like, that he makes people believe the thing. I actually studied a lot of mind-reading magic. And
I knew you were going to say that.
And cold reading. Cold reading is reading a person just walking in off the street. You look at their shoes. They say, you can tell a lot about a person from their shoe. How much money did they make? Or, let's start looking at the jewelry. Maybe there's a little tan mark on the fingers, so they're recently divorced, or they look a little sad. So
this is what you call the tell.
The tell. They all got a tell, and you just bring this all in. The psychics will bring this all in, the tarot readers or whatever.
And then ask leading questions.
And you end up giving more information than you think they do. They say, I see a dark-haired man with, and they look at your face going, I don't think, no, dark, no, kind of, with glasses. And they go, glasses. Uncle Harry has glasses. Yeah. And they go, Uncle Harry?
Dark hair,
Yes, Uncle Harry, that's it, Uncle Harry. And then you just keep...
Harry wants you to know that he's thinking of you. How long has he been dead? Oh, Harry? No, he's still alive. Oh, that's right. But he's going to die, though.
Yeah, it's twisting language and making ambiguous statements and looking for a reaction on their face, like the puzzled look or like, what could that mean? Or an excited look that says, you really hit it. And later they go, he knew my Uncle Harry's name, he knew this thing, he knew this, and you told him all that stuff. They just led the thing, but it can be very, very convincing.
If you want to go down to the Venice Boardwalk and meet a psychic, what your trick to see if it's for real or not is to go in there with don't give any information pertaining to what you asked them to do and maintain poker face. Is that what you're saying?
Then what's the point of going to a psychic?
Yeah, you could just give me the $20.
It's like you're actually what you're doing is you're reading what you need to know.
The fortune cookie,
through a medium, if you will.
Right, and they think it's a higher power that's giving them the right answer. They want the right answer, and there is no right answer.
You're giving yourself the right answer.
Yeah, you're
all right, so the psychology of magic, which is kind of what we're just discussing right now. I'm sorry you didn't run on the Democratic ticket. What did you see in the bigger picture as far as the illusion of what happened in the last few months and what happened on last week?
Well, Neil Postman, the communications professor, he wrote a book called, what was it?
The Postman always runs twice.
Entertaining Ourselves to Death.
Always votes twice.
The Postman always votes twice.
Entertaining Ourselves to Death. That's the Neil Postman. And his thing was that it's all entertainment, religion. Yeah. The things that succeed are the things that are most entertaining. And probably Kamala's boring because yes, you'll have health care, and by this percentage that you want, we'll keep this and get.
She kept
That's
repeating
boring.
and she kept repeating
Trump
the
is
same
out
message.
there. He's like he is a reality show star,
Yep.
and they love to see people get.
He's an
conflicts.
unreality show
But
star.
it's good TV. It's good TV, and
Yep.
that's people. I think a lot of those people they love that he's exciting,
Unpredictable.
But you're going to regret how exciting he is.
He's going to go off the
So
rails.
this is a byproduct of the entertainment culture.
Yes. I mean, and I personally, I don't like reality shows at all because a lot of them just they reward the worst behavior. The people that become stars on those shows
It's true.
are the most arrogant and the most careless.
And they say that
meanest.
they say that's
Meanest.
because it offers the audience an opportunity to feel better about themselves, that they're
Yeah.
better than the person they're observing.
But I think some people aspire to that. They go, geez, I wish I could tell my boss
Yeah.
stuff like that. I wish I could tell my girlfriend that, or
Well,
I wish
you
I
know,
could disregard them
so
like
many
that.
people say that they like Trump because he is saying what I'm thinking,
Oh, my
which
God.
is a terrifying idea,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're thinking so inchoately, you're going from one crazy thought to another, and a lot of people out there, I guess, are thinking like that.
He's not thinking when he says it.
Right.
No,
Well, people said that they
Let us do
wanted
the thinking
government
for
to be
you.
run more like a business, which is what government isn't
God.
designed
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
And guess what? Those folks are going to realize they're not so much citizens more than they're employees, and they're going to be laid off, and they're going to lose their benefits.
it's going to be redundant.
Yeah.
I never got I used to hear that song 16 Tons when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I never really listened to the words, and then like a few years ago I go, oh right, I owe my soul to the company store. So they're keeping you they want to keep you, give you just enough money and keep you alive and health care just enough so that you buy more things or that you serve them in some
you
way
can't
or you
walk
go
away.
to war when they want
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they just enough, and the rest of the time you're always in debt and you're always,
Well, when $50 trillion floats up to the 1% over the last since the Reagan days, that's where the money and the power is, and they're not going to let it go. You've just elected sociopaths. Good luck. So, but now let's go back again in the context of magic in history culturally. Magic goes way back, Mesopotamia.
The
ancient
old
societies.
rod to snake trick.
And this is before
that's in the Bible. A naja,
That's
naja snake is a type of snake that
Stiffens
looks
up.
like a stick
Yep.
and freezes itself to disguise itself to look like a stick.
Yeah.
And you pick it up and you can hold it. It's stiff, and when you throw it on the ground, it crawls away.
And the watch is
Wow,
ticking again.
bit-
you could do the Bible circuit now.
I could start my own religion.
Yeah. So I'm not supposing that you're a historian of magic, but I'm sure you've thought about it a little bit about the impact of what magic was in various.
Well, you've written several books about magic, haven't you, John?
Yeah, well, mostly technical books and sort of
But obviously,
presentation books.
you've been interested in the history.
Oh,
of magic.
sure. I'm very interested in the history, and and originally it was like religions. That was a way to get
Right.
Bring me your virgins and put a big barrel of fruit and food in front of this altar, and
No, I tried
a
that.
voice would appear.
I
from
tried that. I couldn't get to first base.
And and a voice would appear, or a steam
Right.
power would move a big wall,
Yep.
brick wall outside, and it was a religious thing. But it wasn't until then they were street
Reading
performers.
entrails.
There was a book called The Discovery of Witchcraft. Where Reginald Scott was his name, and too many people were being persecuted for being witches, but they weren't witches. They were just doing magic tricks, and people go, "Oh, he's a witch! Burn him and
He's a
drown him!"
warlock.
Yeah, drown him. And so he wrote one of the first books, like 1584. That explained some of these tricks. It said it's not witchcraft. It's a trick. Look, the guy's holding it in the other hand, and he's switching this, and
Now that's a
he's
tough room.
concealing this.
That's
Yeah.
a tough room.
Really. And so that was the first really printed after Gutenberg
fascinating.
Press, one of the first books to ever be printed. And it's very rare.
Steve Gutenberg Press.
Right. And so there's very few copies out there. It's like highly sought after by collectors.
So the psychology of magic, or the manifestations of that sort of manipulation, the redirect, so to speak. It's been always happened, right?
Yeah.
And did magic in pre-industrial world, when the Bible and the churches ruled, did they look at magic as a challenge to their control?
I don't know. Maybe not as much in the Western world. In like mid 1800s, under Napoleon III, the people were uprising against the French, who were sort of colonizing the place, and so but they had these magicians, these fakirs, that would perform on the street, but they also brought a rebellious message with it. Algeria.
Uh-huh.
And the French government got really nervous, and they sent Robert Houdin, Eugene Robert Houdin. Houdini, who took his name from Houdin, and he added an I because he thought it meant Houdin-like, Houdini.
Uh-huh.
And he went to Algeria to show that French magic was, to a lot of uneducated people, that show that the French magic was as strong or stronger than the Algerian, the fakers on the street.
I see.
And he did several different things.
Not the fakers, the fakirs.
Fakirs, yeah. And careful of the pronunciation. We
Yes.
might get bleeped out here. Those mother fakirs. So, like, one of the things he did was he had a iron box, a little iron box, and he would put it on the stage, and he would he said, "Who's the strongest man in the audience?" And they would come up, and he said, "Could you pick up that box?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course we're going to pick it up. I'm a strong man, I'm a man." Rah. And he'd pick it up really easy and set it down, and now Robert Houdin, would wiggle his fingers
passes,
and give him the kibosh or whatever,
Yeah.
and then the guy couldn't pick it up, and he said, I'm taking your strength away.
Ah.
And it was like nobody knew about electromagnetism then, and there was a big electromagnet under the stage that held this thing. But the effect was not he couldn't pick up a box. The effect was he took his strength away.
Yeah.
And,
So-
and all the watches stopped.
Right, and so it's magic is what you make it to be. I can do the same trick, but give it a different presentation, and it appears to be something different happening.
Right.
So I wouldn't ever say, "Oh, this box won't be able to lift up from the floor." You say, "Take away my strength." Now that's an emotional thing. Oh my God, I'm a powerless person all of a sudden.
Right.
And then he had another thing where he had a firing squad aim rifles at him, and he, and nothing harmed him. And then he had them pointed at the wall, and they fired at the wall, and the wall bled. And it contributed to the French sort of maintaining power there in some degree.
It's far more than the mechanics of a trick. It's really the setup
The
and
psychology.
the framing of it.
It's what you make it, the effect that you decide what it is, and you make up the story, and you present it that way, and that's
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does.
and that's really what the most entertaining. Why should anybody care if I pull a coin out of your ear or make it disappear or this or that? But if you can have some sort of presentation where it's kind of fun, like, I was on the street and this guy, did the 3-card Monte and he ripped me off, and and the money appears and the cards are moving, and then it's a little bit more emotional attachment, or it's more entertaining, and that's fun.
You're a storyteller.
Yeah, I'm a storyteller, and it's interesting that my my two biggest influences are completely different.
Yeah?
On one side, it's Di Vernon, technical, ingenious technique and innovative ideas and psychology and all this great skill that he had. And on the other end, Carl Ballantine, one of my very favorite
I adored him.
performers ever. And Vernon was all technical and everything, and his name was Carl Sharp,
Is that his real name?
yeah, Carl Sharp, or that was another stage name. Kester, I think, was his actual name. But he did just classic sleight of hand of the time, producing cards and billiard balls and things like that. But then he found he got more work just doing a parody of magic, and nothing worked. Nothing worked. It was just a hilarious character and his reaction to thing, and everything went wrong.
I can remember the disappearing dove act he had, where all he had left were a bunch of feathers. He was on the really big shoe. Ed Sullivan.
McHale's Navy. He was on Ed Sullivan a bunch of
as an
times.
actor.
Yeah.
And that influence, because you have been a comedic actor.
I think more than stand-up comedic actors, Dick Van Dyke, Jonathan Winters, Tim Conway, all these people, and Phil. I learned all the voices from listening to Fireside Theater and Monty Python. We did all those voices, in our family.
Yes, you stupid fool.
I had a 2-reel tape recorder, personal recorder, 2-reel, and I recorded it off of the progressive FM radio. When nobody had FM radio, I put this thing up there, and I recorded a couple of the routines, and I learned them by heart.
Fireside.
Fireside.
Yeah. Now, how many years have you been doing this, John?
Professionally, I don't know, 40 years, I guess.
40 years. And you still enjoy it?
I still enjoy it.
Do you have any upcoming performances at the Castle?
Yeah, I'm there. Right. And then in December, I'm at Marvin's Magic in La Quinta, which is outside of Palm Springs, La Quinta, California there. Beautiful theater there called Marvin's Magic Theater. And if anybody's anywhere near that area, I'd love to have you come by and watch the show.
You mentioned a wonderful Mark Twain quote to me.
Well, I guess it applies to the election as well.
Yes,
Twain said it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they'd been fooled. Nobody likes to admit that they've been fooled, and they'll double down. But in my case, I try not to. It's not so much about trying to fool people. It's not a puzzle. It's not an intellectual challenge or anything. I just want people to be surprised and have this feeling of wonder, which we take everything for granted. Our phones, it's like, it's bouncing off a satellite, and they're sending me pictures, and I recorded this thing on this little palm-sized thing, and we take it all for granted, and you go, you're not. People don't look up at the stars anymore. They don't think about
critical thinking and situational awareness.
Pretty much. You brought some tricks to do on the radio, did you, John?
I don't have any tricks to do on the radio.
You don't? No,
so that elephant down the hall was not part of your... Okay.
Later, it's up my sleeve.
Want to talk about your books?
There's one book that it's okay for the public or for beginners. It doesn't matter if you're an executive, you just want to show some friends some tricks, or if you're a kid just starting out. I do a goofy character called Mr. Misto, and it's Mr. Misto's Wizard Academy, and that's simple gags and tricks that you can do for your friends, and it also gives them very simple advice, about having a presentation and how to practice and all that kind of thing. But most of my books are very technical, so if you're not a magician, you're probably not. It's pretty heavy.
CarneyMagic.com.
CarneyMagic.com. You can also contact me there to do shows for you.
Do you have
pay me money to do a show.
Do you have anything on YouTube?
I've got a few things on YouTube. You could probably look up Mr. Misto, Mysto.
As in mystery.
MR period Misto. And Mr. Misto is just a goofy character. He's a combination of a lot of different characters. It's a little bit of Ernie Kovac's Percy Dove Tonsils.
Great inspirations.
A little bit of Don DeLuise. He used to do a crazy magician.
I was on a show called Talent 63 on CBS television when I first, was starting in the business. And Dom DeLuise did his magic act with Ruth Buzzy.
Oh, wow.
Right? Oh. And I remember he put Ruth into a box, and he did some magical things. I am going to move her now from this box into the box on the other side of the stage. And he'd do it without a pistol. And he'd walk over to the other side of the stage. He'd open the door slightly. She's in there, all right. Oh, man, what a sweetheart he was.
So I love comedy, but I didn't want it to be completely a parody. So I wanted it to be good magic. I I want the magic to work, maybe in spite of himself. Misto, it's not like he's so great. It's like somehow it worked despite his incompetence. But I wanted the magic to work. So I have several characters in my show where I do characters, but I try to get the comedy out of it, but also it's an amazing trick. How in the world did you do it?
How much time do you spend developing new acts or, practicing your
all the time?
stuff?
Yeah, all the time. I always got something going, and I have a list of things that I go, well, that's a premise that I should explore. That's something that I could, there's a basic idea, and I just want to build on it, and always something to work on.
In the minute we have left, in this age of magical thinking, if you could give a tip as far as the magic of a redirect, how do you smell a redirect? Because I think there's going to be a lot of that going on.
Misdirection.
Misdirection.
She's talking about misdirection.
Misdirection.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I dated her.
I wish I had a simple answer for that, but you do have to be a critical thinker and think for yourself. You think for yourself.
Yeah.
And don't take the first thing that you hear, as and
truth.
Use your, and be compassionate, for crying out loud. Why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you care? It's why do you have to say you're supposed to care about your fellow human beings? It's like if you don't hang together, you're going to hang separately.
Yeah.
Well, John Carney,
On that happy note,
thank you so much. I think we're going to
you're
have
a swinging kind
I'm
of
going to go
guy.
hang myself.
That was wonderful.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
John.
much.
Fun.
You've been listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor.
I'm John Carney.
And you're John
Thank you,
Carney.
John.
And everybody out there, we're going to get through this.
Hang in there, kids.
See ya.